Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Healthy Menu. I am your host, Sonia Couto, and today we're going to be talking with a company called Miiro. And just before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about Miiro. Miiro is a company that offers healthy, no added sugar, plant-based, and all-natural chocolates and baking ingredients. And today we have with us the CEO of Miiro, Rym Selmi. I hope I said that name right.
Yes,
Welcome
that's
to the
right.
show.
Hi. Hi,
How
thank
are
you very
you
much for
today?
having me. Good, and you?
Yeah, no problem. Just a little bit about you, which I'm gonna let you sort of tell us a little bit too. But what I know, you are a big contributor to online articles that talk about how eating with natural ingredients and reduced sugar intake can be a great benefit to our overall nutrition. And you are also outspoken on how you decide to live a healthier lifestyle through mindful eating. So, with that getting started, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what started you on this journey with Miro?
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised in Europe, and more specifically in the south of France. And it was only in my mid 20s, early 20s that I started to discover after just living like a very hectic life. I started to discover plant-based diet, and at the time it wasn't mainstream yet. um, and um, and then I had a few episodes in my life with food and bad nutrition, and that's what led me to create my own business.
Awesome. And why plant-based?
Um, so about 7 years ago, I was living this very unhealthy life with a job that where I was doing very long hours, and I was very tired, relying primarily on sugar and coffee. When I quitted my job, I just wanted to do something for myself because I didn't have any energy anymore. I wasn't productive anymore. So I started like a 2 weeks dairy free challenge where I saw amazing results on my health. And then I decided to push it a bit more to a 2 weeks plant-based journey, and I mean challenge, and it became since then a journey.
Right, right. I know that one of the things that you talk about is less sugar, or organic, plant-based. Um, I did receive your pack. I got here some of your products, so I have
Yes,
several
yes.
little chocolates here. Um, some of your products that I just want to sort of share. And I have to admit that when I tried these, I didn't actually see a difference in sugar. So, I was vegan for like 5 years of my life, and usually when I went to the supermarket, I would buy these vegan products that really tasted terrible. To be honest with you, I mean, this was like 7, 8 years ago, so products were not as good as they are now.
Yeah.
But it was, everything was like sort of awful. And to me, I used to always say it tastes um, like chalkboard. It doesn't have a good flavor. I know, it's just the way I'm describing it. So when I finally got a chance to taste their wonderful little products here, I was really surprised that they're really good. And then when I got in, and what I really loved was the grams of protein, the content of protein that you have. Because I know I'm no longer fully vegan. And one of the reasons why I had to stop being vegan was because I was what they consider an unhealthy vegan. So I was not eating enough
Yes.
iron. I did not have enough protein in my body. And so it got to the point where my doctor was like, you need to sort of consider going back and eating meat protein because I had a deficiency in my body. So now I'm always watching for vegan products that are high in protein. And I was really happy to see that most of your products have that. So maybe you can tell me, what are some common mistakes or challenges that you face when getting into plant-based market?
Um, I think so. Actually, your story is truly what I experienced. I'm more talking about like 7 years ago, like the kind of offer that was on the market. So veganism or plant-based diets were not really like mainstream.
Yeah.
So you had to go to a specialty store to be able to find whatever you wanted to find. And initially that was the experience I had. Like I couldn't find any products for me. So it was a long time ago. At that time I used to live in London, and I created what was at that time the first vegan Magnum style of ice cream, because there was not this kind of product on the market. And then I had to move to the US because like I had, for my family basically. And this is where I thought, okay, I need to create a product that is really appealing to the American society. And I try to taste like everything. And I really found that something that is really present here is like something that is strong is the love for peanut butter, which was perfect because yeah, in Europe it's more like Nutella, but
Okay.
here in the US it's really like peanut butter, which was amazing because peanut butter actually is given in some societies to, you know, like to people that are that need to survive. I mean, when you need to survive, you either give dates because they are amazing for your bodies, or you give peanut butter because they contain a lot of things.
Right.
Like they contain protein, they are like just amazing, like natural fats and everything. So and these can help you survive even if you're deprived of other kind of food. But it's in extreme circumstances, so I really don't advise to try this at home.
I do
But
love me my peanut butter. I eat peanut butter pretty much every day. I love it. It's like I could eat it by the spoonful.
it's amazing. Exactly, exactly. So this is why I started to experiment like peanut butter something. So peanut butter cups, peanut butter chocolate bar. And then I started really exactly, yes.
Peanut butter cups.
Um, and then I was like, okay, something that, so I got pregnant, I developed gestational diabetes, and this is where I started like to shift my focus to like low sugar food. And but the problem is I tried every single low sugar brand out there, and there was this lack of indulgence. The chocolate didn't taste the same than what I was used to in Europe. So I really wanted to create a chocolate brand that was really like so close to what those artisans in Belgium or in Switzerland do with chocolate. But because I experimented like a lot with like nut butters, especially peanut butter, I managed to find a way to replace milk, like dairy milk, with so nut butter and nut milk to create this white chocolate or milk chocolate kind of experience, but in a plant-based vegan version. Sorry, my answer was very long.
No,
But
it's okay. So, you know what? Actually, for those listening in and don't know, MenuSano is actually a nutrition analysis tech company, and we focus on creating nutrition labels. So, of course, when I got your product, I had to take a look at your nutrition label, and I was actually really surprised that your peanut butter cups, 5 servings per container, is only 90 calories. I mean, I can eat 5 of these and I'm only eating 90 calories. That's fantastic, number one. And then I noticed that your dietary fiber is 6 grams, which is also really good for the body. And you don't have any additional sugars. Like your label is pretty empty because everything is really healthy. Your saturated fats are only 3.5 grams. Total fat is 8 grams, which is really good. And it's just, it has a lot of good things in it. And the calorie count obviously is important. And it's only 90. How did you, when you were creating these, how were you taking all of these items on a label into consideration to keep everything healthy?
so to
Because
me,
I mean,
there were
right, just to
yes.
add to that, like when you're using like healthy ingredients like dates and stuff, they can still very high in natural sugar, right?
Yes.
So sort of, can you walk us through your formula a little bit of how you came about with like really low base calorie counts?
So we didn't focus on calories. That's the first thing I want to say. So we focused on three things: on the fact that it had to be plant-based, while delivering the same taste profile than a traditional chocolate. We focused on sugar because this was really a problem that I wanted to solve, first of all, for myself. And I wanted to indulge, like I have a sweet tooth, and I just wanted to be able to eat chocolates again on a daily basis. And the third problem we tried to solve is having a clean ingredient list. So an ingredient list you can read and pronounce. So these were, then it's accidentally higher than most chocolate brands in proteins, for example, and it has like less calories than another chocolate brand. But this is accidental. So we didn't focus on that. Like it wasn't part of like the research. But then what really drove the calorie down is the sugar, because we don't use any form of like table sugar, sucrose, or or high corn syrup, or
Saturated. Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
So overall, because you were using healthy ingredients, it automatically made, the chocolates and your ingredients healthier overall.
Exactly, yes. And I think as well that so the protein is definitely due to the nut butter, because we use a lot of nut butter. We wanted, I mean, something that is really important that I think that a lot of companies are missing here is the fact that generally sweet treats are empty calories. So let me give you an example. You buy a chocolate bar, you eat a square, but it's not enough. You will never say, "Oh, I'm done with." I mean, I will never say for sure I'm done with a square of chocolate. So I can talk like on behalf of everyone, but I can talk at least on my behalf. And so I'm the kind of person who would eat the full chocolate bar. And it's because it's not satiating, it's not satisfying. And we thought that in putting like whole foods, whole ingredients that were not processed, and that were naturally rich in good fat, we could get consumers to not have to eat the full bar, but to stop at the first square or two. And that's what we did.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. So aside from, I have here some chocolate bars, some plant-based powered peanut butter, baking chips. I have some honey. What are some of the other products in your product line that consumers can get?
So we have two types of baking chips. So peanut butter baking chips and dark chocolate baking
I
chips.
have
So
the
as
dark
you
chip.
questioned, yes, that's right. We have also a maple flavored syrup. You've just shown it, and then we have some peanut butter cups, a white chocolate bar, and a peanut butter chocolate bar.
And who is your clientele? Is it, I'm assuming for the chocolates and stuff, it's consumers, but do you have any manufacturers using any of your products?
So at the moment, we just are D2C. So we haven't approached any business like to start like selling, for example, to bakeries or so. And we haven't been approached to. I think we're a fairly new company. So, but our focus is really like D2C.
Busy, yeah. So there are still some who are hesitant to try plant-based alternatives. How how have you marketed your product to change their perspective?
Um, I think there are a few ways you can do it. First of all, is through a branding that can be fun, and as you mentioned earlier, I mean, like vegan food used to taste like horrible, and I think that if you have like a good brand identity, you can make it more fun, and you can position yourself more like as a fun brand.
Mhm.
I think the second thing as well is it's word of mouth, to be honest. It's like the bravest customer that will first buy your products, or the one that will, if they love it, that will tell about their friends, and um, yeah, tell to their friends, and that's really how, I mean, how at least it has worked for us.
Yeah, and how has your clients' reaction been to the products that you've put out? Do people
The thing,
absolutely love it?
oh yes, 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 yes. So our retention rate is quite high. The thing is, with us, we don't push the plant-based message that much, nor, I mean, what we try to create is more like a holistic approach, like a
Okay.
bar, like a chocolate bar that is really satisfying, that you can have instead of having like a treat, meaning this occasionally once every like few weeks. You can have it like a bit every day,
Mhm.
just because of the sugar, because it's healthier, the ingredient list, etc., etc. So that's what we try to create. We don't market those products for vegans. It's not something we try to do. We market it for people who want to lead a healthier life, and that have a preference for like nut milk, for example, or nut butter, rather than just like dairy milk. And we, I mean, from my experience, those people, like, there are a lot more people who switched their dairy, like basically their cappuccino with milk,
Mhm.
with an alternative, like for example almond milk or oat milk, and that's the audience that we are trying um, to be appealing to.
I totally understand because like I'm not 100% vegan anymore, but I refuse to drink regular cow milk. I don't know why. I find it like sort of kind of gross. And I do love
Yeah.
my peanut milk and my milk and almond milk. So I always sort of look for products that don't have a lot of, animal based milk in it. So I can see why this would be appealing to non vegans and why you would market it that way.
Yes,
Um,
yes, and also, sorry, just to
yeah.
add up to this, um, I think that a lot of work has been done over the years to educate people, like, over like issues that dairy, like the dairy industry,
Mm.
um, like around the dairy industry, and I think that that's why also we're taking this angle. It's because people are already educated on those points, so we don't want to like recreate the wheel. Especially being a small business, you need to have like a huge budget to educate people on veganism, and it's ongoing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh no way, I will never become vegan, and that's not our message, to be honest. Like, we just want to be appealing, like, a great offer for people who wants to lead a healthier lifestyle.
Healthy lifestyle. Yeah, I think that's a good approach and a good way to go about it because it really lets you, the whole vegan market has such a diverse clientele and people
Yeah.
have opinions about it. Some people love it, some people hate it, and you just never know what's the best approach. So I think you focusing on it being, a healthy lifestyle is fantastic.
Yeah, that's the approach we took. Yes.
That's great. So, what is your long term goal? What are you planning to do with this company, long term?
So for us, like, the goal would be to become a lifestyle brand, um, because it would mean that we are recognized as really like the healthier alternative.
Hmm.
And our goal has never been to reach a certain like amount of sales, or a certain amount of customers. It's just like the concept of being a lifestyle brand and everything that goes with it. So trust, and also like, um, very like a strong, um, I would say, when customers trust so much your brand, that everything you put on the market is already like you just overcome the barrier of will I like it, because they already know that they like your previous products, and they can trust you on this one. But there's also like the dimension, like the trust dimension of like okay, those guys have always promised to come up with healthier products, so I don't even need to look at the nutrition facts. I know it will be good. So that's more our ambition, what we're trying to achieve, rather than something like that is quantified.
Right. Um, I think I'm having difficulties with my camera, but that's okay. I'll continue anyways. So, what is unique about Miro in the plant-based industry?
I think what is unique is the fact that it's very difficult to find, for example, a white chocolate bar that tastes great, that is vegan and tastes great. And we just wanted to recreate these like indulgence you could find in like traditional brands, iconic brand that we have all grew up with. So we wanted to recreate this amount of indulgence you can have when you eat a traditional chocolate bar, like without mentioning any name.
Right. What tips can you give to keeping ingredients clean and 100% plant-based?
To be honest, there's no tips. There's just like trial, iteration, testing, trying, iterating, testing. I
Yeah.
just can't give any advice here, because that's what I've done with my two products. So the previous one, the ice creams, and this. I think there's no shortcut here.
Right. Um, uh, how can a vegan consumer know their product is 100% vegan?
So there are two things I would highly recommend is first of all checking the ingredient list. If there is a word that you don't understand, um, well, it might be vegan, but it's normally not healthy. But I think veganism was initially something that was very healthy, and that has become very like now there's a lot of junk food. So if you are trying to be vegan because for health issues, yeah, I mean, if there's an ingredient you can't read or you can't pronounce, it's generally not good for you. But then if we just stay like on the dairy-free vegan approach, I would say yes, looking at the ingredients, but also at the kind of the previous products the company has done. Like, is the brand consistently vegan or not? If it's not, then they might have taken some shortcuts somehow. For example, in the storage, like have placed some non-vegan products with vegan ones. Um, or, for example, they might have some flavoring that is made like from a non-vegan source. So I would say, even if the nutritional label is vegan, if you know the brand is, then it gives you like extra comfort.
Right. Um, so, what are the benefits to consumers to use a product that's vegan based, even though they're not vegan?
I think, okay, so for me, but like this is always a debate, and this is like it creates a lot of passion and a lot of like conversations. But to me, like, say, I mean, the dairy industry has come to a point where, I mean, we are talking about giving antibiotics to cows. We are talking about creating X amount of certifications to make sure that the cows are grass fed. And just like having to even enter into those debates just
Hmm.
shows how unhealthy the dairy industry has become. I don't think that it has always been unhealthy. I think that if you look a century ago, that we didn't have those kind of issues. So Yeah, but if we're just looking, sorry, at the veganism through the health lens, I'm not talking about ethical veganism. I'm not talking about cruelty-free veganism, like all the definitions of veganism for protection of animals or
Mm,
sustainability. I'm not talking about that purely like on health and on the health point of view. But yeah, I think that the dairy industry is sick and is and the food system has is kind of broken, especially more in America than in a lot of other continents. In Europe, they have less issues, let's say, with dairy compared to America. But yeah, I think that's the reason why I don't particularly like dairy, and I think that the reason why we use nut. That's also the reason why we use nut milk, and we believe it is healthier.
mhm.
Just we don't want to have to get our milk certified as like antibiotic free or grass fed or those kind of things, because it means that we recognize there is a problem, but we, despite that, we choose a solution that is a bit better. But even if there is a certification in place, it doesn't mean there is no mistake done, like in the
Yeah.
supply chain. This
And
happens
that's
every day.
Yeah, and that's a good point you just made. Like you're saying that you think dairy in some other countries is healthy than in North America, Europe. Why do you think that is? I mean, aside from, I would assume that every country gives their animals some sort of antibiotics. But what is the big difference between, for example, Europe and North America when it comes to the dairy industry?
Um, okay, I think there are. So first of all, it starts with regulation, and
Okay.
let me give you an example. I will just use this example. So in dairy, there is a tolerance. Each country has a tolerance for like blood. Let me explain. So there are actually some particles of blood in milk. It's because when they extract milk, um, if the cow has been, I don't even know how to explain that. If
Hmm.
the cow has been
Like
like
over
overused,
overuse.
yes, yes, then it is likely that it will be irritated like all around, and and then there will be like particles of blood in the milk. That's a reality. I'm sorry if I shock anyone, but so every country has a tolerance for blood that is different. And America has a much higher tolerance than in Europe, for example.
Ah, okay.
And also in Europe, you can find countries that pasteurize milk, like France. In the
Right.
UK, if I remember correctly, they don't pasteurize milk, but in France they do. So it's like you lose the benefits of like the nutrients, but you don't have like like the bacteria and those kind of things that can
Yeah.
like develop.
Yeah, I was born in Portugal on one of the islands in Portugal, and I went back a couple years ago, and I was with family, and they actually grow milk cows. And I remember I went to the field with them, and the gentleman who took care of the cows, he would go really early in the morning, again at lunch, and again in the evening. And I sort of followed him, and I went along, and the cows were all outside eating grass, and he only took milk from the cows 3 times a day. So in the morning, then the cows would eat, sleep, relax, and then he would do it again at noon, and then again in the evening. So I'm thinking that probably in Europe, that's probably what a lot of countries do versus having farmed cows in being, not outside and on the grass, just being in, these houses and stuck and just being pumped milk 24/7.
I think so. I think it's more respectful to animal rights. It's not perfect, definitely not perfect.
Right.
And there are a lot of things going on there too. But I think the food system is a bit better.
Yeah, because I always hear people who are like, "Yeah, I went to Europe on vacation and I ate so much, but I lost weight." And here, we gain weight. It's really hard to lose weight. So I'm like, oh, maybe I need to go to Europe in order to lose 5 pounds, and I can eat whatever I want. I think just it's not even like you said. It's not about animal cruelty, putting all of that stuff aside. I think it's just the quality of the way food is produced in other countries. It's not as rapid to fill a really large amount of people. We have a lot of people living in North America. So I think a lot of things here are produced, mass produced, in order to fill a need. And in Europe,
Exactly.
they're not mass produced the same way.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at France, for example, this country has about 70 million inhabitants,
Yeah,
and just France. In the UK, I think it's a bit less, maybe around 65, something like that. In the US, it's about 400 million people.
yeah,
How do you feed 400 million people? It's
yeah.
just, especially it's one country. So, meaning that there is no regulation, I mean, no border between each state. So, if you are in Utah and you want to ship your milk to New York, it's not a problem. There is no custom, no nothing. Between European countries, there is no custom between like European Union. It's a big agreement in
Mhm.
place, but it's different. It's a different language. It's a different tolerance for milk, for example, like for blood particles, for example, as I explained earlier.
Mhm.
There is a regulation that is almost like federal, like for the whole European Union, but each country also has like their own rules. Um, so it's very different, and it's a good thing, and on some issues, and it's a bad one on other issues. But then to go back to what we were discussing about, yes, you're right. When you have 400 million people to feed, then you
It starts
you
becoming a problem.
overproduce, you
Yeah,
overuse your materials, your resources.
yeah. Okay, my last question for you is what new things are in store for Miro?
Um, so we definitely want to launch more products. I think it's important, and and we also want to do quality over quantity, in the sense that we want to gather as much information as possible about what our customers love, and we don't talk enough about it, because it's all about always about quantitative data, never qualitative data. And but we want to really understand our customers, because we um, we are not an old company. Like, we launched earlier this year, so we are still in a phase where we are trying to understand um, like what our customers want. And for
Mhm.
example, should we discuss that we have a huge audience of people who actually use our products for pre-workout, for example, then in that case, it might be more interesting to really keeping like the vegan message, keeping the low sugar message, but then to make sure that we increase the amount of proteins in our products. So this is just an example, but that's really like the two focus for the next year, like really trying to get more products on the market, but also trying to really understand what, and this has to be done like hand in hand, what our customers want.
So, if consumers listening in want to get a hold of some of your products, where are they usually located?
So we only sell through our website Miro, which is miro.co. And yeah, and at the moment we just sell through the website.
Perfect. Good to know. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story and your company story with us. It was lovely to have you on, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch, connect, and do this again.
Thank you so much. Really appreciated the whole conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. It was great. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.